Hello, Dr. Charlie.
Hello, my dear friend Simone.
I love the conversations with you, and I wonder what we can explore today.
I wonder too, what's possible today that hasn't been possible before?
Exactly. So, what are we talking about today?
Well, what popped in my head was that, and I've been facilitating some folks recently who end up with a lot of shoulds in relationship, a lot of supposed tos, including the fact of even having a relationship. Like when I asked them, like, well, why did you get into this relationship in the first place? They're, when they really thought about that, it was not really their choice to do so. I mean, it ends up being their choice, but they were they were aware of, since we're all these infinitely aware beings, they're aware of everybody else's points of view about relationships, like needing one, having to be in one, having to fit in with other people, living up to the expectations of your parents or your anybody, your children, whatever. Um, but we absorb like so much from the world about relationship and about getting into one, and then once in one, what we're supposed to do in it.
This is so true. And I guess that could be also a good point when you are aware how you can like dynamically use that against you. When
Yeah,
you just go into their head, look what they desire, and then we completely forget what do I desire and what would I like to create here, yeah?
yeah, yeah. So how many of us are doing exactly that a lot? Like how many of us are like, let's just take the scenario you were kind of targeting, and that is the one in which you do with a partner. Like you're in a relationship and all of a sudden you're aware of what their point of view is, what their expectations are on you. And you pick it up and you then make it an expectation on yourself that you're supposed to deliver that. And nothing has been discussed at all. And you're all of a sudden off and running when you didn't even ask yourself, is this true for me? Is this my choice? And if I choose this, will it create greater?
I just like found out about myself, like how fast I go to a reaction,
Mm.
and I'm like, wait a second, this is reaction. I mean, I'm doing Access for 10 years. Like by now, it's like, oh, I get like, wait a second, I have a different choice. And is that even mine? Is it also an expectation of I will react in a different way, in a certain way? And then like, and I go to feelings, into separation, and like, stop. None of that is what I desire to choose here. What is my choice? What would I like to create here? That's like my go-to in relationship. Like, what would I like to create? Because I know I'm the one having the questions available, so I am the one requiring to ask them for things to be different, right?
So true. So true. I like to think of it that conversation takes time, awareness is instantaneous. And, like when you're in a relationship, particularly with a partner or somebody you're up close to and so forth, it could be a child, it could be a family member, whatever that you're really up close to. It's instantaneous. Your awareness is instantaneous. You don't have to exchange words. You're so aware of each other's energy fields. And then, we react out of that instantaneous awareness. But do we have to? What if you slowed it down? What if you relaxed and said, okay, what do I choose? What I choose here right now?
That for me, really being honest with myself, I was looking to that like, wow, if I look from my point of view at the situation, there's all kinds of things or have been there. And then I really take that interesting point of view from his side, and I could perceive, wow, he's just grateful for me. Like, whoa, it's all just here. None of that is true. And to get there is like, wow. And then I could perceive how there was that communion again. Like, I
Yeah.
am so creative in destroying, not acknowledging. But now I'm faster in catching me, which is good.
Say something more about that. Say something more about that. I thought that was a juicy thing you just said. You're so something about something. Say that again. I loved
I'm
every.
so good in destroying, like from patterns, from points of views, from thinking I know what's going on when it's actually nothing going on. It like it's all inventions in my world, not even universe. It's in my world where what I've learned, whatever it is, it doesn't even matter where it comes from. I could just perceive I have to be really present and active in what I would like to choose here, what I would like to create here. Otherwise, things will just, yeah. And I'm the one saying bye bye, not even the other side.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm fond of saying our relationships live inside our heads, that they're really not taking place out here, or what is taking place out here as a result of all the points of view that we're carrying at any particular moment. Um, and all the expectations and projections and judgments we're carrying inside. So I'm very fond of the access tool of destroying and uncreating our relationship every day, as a road to freedom. Freedom not only for us, but freedom for them, so that they don't have to like be at the effect of all of our judgments and projections and expectations. But the question is, how do you destroy and uncreate your relationship every day? You're destroying and uncreating it in here. You're destroying it in here, where you're carrying all your judgments, all your expectations on yourself, on them, that have been built up like over seconds, milliseconds, days, months, years, decades, however long it's been that you've been in each other's energy fields and so forth. And when you destroy and uncreate, that's what you're asking to destroy and uncreate, is the what you're carrying inside around all your judgments on you, all your judgments on them, all your expectations on what you're supposed to do, all your and not supposed to do, all your expectations on what they're supposed to do and have to do, and what they're not supposed to do. And none of that gives any allowance or freedom or space for people to breathe. So we're all like so aware of all these expectations and judgments that we're just bouncing around. Like,
But it's so interesting. Where do the supposed tos come from? It's like, who has decided that? Like,
there you go. Who's decided that? Well, when we buy it, we decide it.
mm-hmm.
But we buy it from everywhere we bought it from birth on, right? I mean,
It's
everywhere we.
expensive, I would say. I'm like, I'm returning that. It's like,
Yeah. And just for our listeners here, how about just having a simple tool, if you're not that familiar with these tools, of saying, I'm returning all that to its origin, wherever it came from. And what if it could be that easy that you could return all the expectations, all the judgments that you've accumulated from your parents about how to do relationship, how you're supposed to be with them, how they're supposed to be with you, how they're supposed to be with each other, and so forth. It's all just made up and hand-me-downs. Like they're all
you know what,
hand.
Charlie? I just hear, like, I had facilitated classes like lately, and one person said, yeah, but I make it myself too easy if I always just send it back to sender. Like, certain things have to be mine. And like some people really go to like, this must be mine because I cannot just return. And that's, I guess we're not aware or not willing to be aware how aware we are, or to acknowledge that we have so much more awareness than we allow ourselves to know.
Right, right. And when I heard you say that, when I heard the energy of that, it made me aware of one of the greatest supposed to's, is that we're not supposed to be that free.
That we not should be what?
We're not supposed to be that free.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're supposed to carrying we're so habituated, so used to carrying everybody else's points of view, that we really don't know what the space is of just having our space without everybody's points of view. We're not supposed to be that free. And perhaps we weren't given that level of freedom even as children. Like there were a lot of like do's and don'ts and so forth on us. And we weren't given the freedom that, honey, you're just to be you. Whatever that is, the kindness of that, the caring of extending allowance and freedom for somebody to just be them. And therefore, we don't grow up often in that kind of space. And therefore, if you don't have that kind of space, it's hard to give others that space. But what if you start by giving that kind of freedom and space to you, that you don't have to carry everybody else's points of view. You don't have to get stuck with them about what you're to do and not to do and so forth. You can return it all and just find a space for you and ask yourself, what's true for me? What really is true for me? And what if you could give that to a partner? Like, allow them to be what's true for them. Like they don't have to be anything for you. They really don't. Like there's so much more, I'm going to use the old-fashioned word love, Matt. There's so much love in allowing somebody to just choose whatever's true for them. And so much self-caring in allowing you to just choose what's true for you. It's so basic and simple that we don't get it. We think we couldn't live that way. That's one of the points of view we have in this world. That if you just let everybody do what they're doing, there'd just be all this havoc and so forth, and it'd just be nutty and so forth. No, what if it was relaxed?
It's so true. Like I heard it so often that there will be havoc instead of like, but why? I'm not sure if we stop caring for each other. I have a sense that would be growing instead of disappearing. You know, like you would just like, if there's no rules and everyone takes care of themselves, there is a communion.
Yes.
Like there is also a desire for greater, and that can finally be like.
Yes. Yes. You know, from personal experience, and I'm sure you too, and I'm sure that the listeners too here, know there's been points in your life where you have been carrying so many expectations on yourself and so many expectations that your partner has on you that you then decided that you have to live through. And you know that experience. But I bet everybody here also knows something about the space of no expectation, of no judgment. But sometimes the only time we've been able to have that is when we've decided we have to be alone. We have to be autonomous. We have to be all by ourselves and so forth. And then we get all that space, but then we go into, oh, but I have to be lonely to be in that space. No, what if that space of allowance and the space of no expectation does not mean you're alone and does not mean you can't be in relationship? It's a space. It's not a determination of what you choose. You're choosing space with what you choose. And it takes a little while to build that muscle up, that like you can choose space with whatever you choose. And like you can be in relationship and choose space and allow them to have the freedom of their space. And once you step into that, some really yummy things happen. They really do. I mean, I know this from personal experience because I've been in a relationship now for several years in which we started out with tons of expectations on each other and tons of, no, I will not, you know, like we were fighting like each other's expectations and then giving into each other's expectations and then fighting each other's expectations and so forth. And we're not doing that much anymore.
Beautiful.
We really aren't. There's a way in which I led the way here, since I may be a little more familiar with the tools and so forth. And I just started doing it with myself. And I think she started to experience the freedom that was coming from that. And she picked it up. And now we both have way more relaxation with each other.
That's beautiful. I just had a question that was like in my world today, like, what are people choosing relationship for? And that can be so many, like, for what are you doing that? To have someone to blame when you're not choosing your life, creating your life? Like, what is it? If you're really honest with yourself, what is it? And also, like, what is it you think you do? What is it you're choosing? And what is it that's possible that you might have not allowed yourself to know when you start choosing what's true for you?
Right, right. Can we just back up for a moment, because I was aware of an energy of, like, in Access, we're very much about releasing judgments and not living in judgment. And I'm just aware of the, some of the listeners might hear, making themselves wrong for having expectations. You're not wrong for having expectations. It's just part of what we do here and so forth. But you also are not wrong for allowing yourself to have the space of less expectations either. And so there's no right or wrong here. It's all choice. And so when you say, what are you doing a relationship for? There's all kinds of, there's an infinite number of reasons and justifications of why people choose relationship. To have children. I chose that once. You know, it was my primary reason. Why was I doing? What was I doing relationship for? To have kids. It really wasn't to have a partner. And it was just the easiest way for me to have kids at that point, because she had kids and I loved her kids. So I decided to get married to be with them and so forth. And there's nothing wrong with that. But whatever you choose for, why don't you be aware of and be grateful for your choices and be constantly asking yourself, this is to work for me? Or, like, now, did the thing you chose when you were 17 not work for you when you're 47, kind of thing? And then do you have the honesty to look at what you're choosing for now and ask, what could I choose now? Even with the same person, what can I choose now? Like, what you chose them for when you guys met at 17 might not be what you would choose each other for now. But what you would choose now, and what would you have a relationship with that person now, might be way different, but way more rich at 27, because you're totally different people.
Yeah, that's so true too. Like, we are not staying the same, especially if you know the tools of access consciousness. You're changing all the time. Like, everyone is changing, but I guess in that we're changing even more faster. And yeah, that's what I see sometimes. You change, the partner change, but you think the relationship is still there and it's not working because we're both not there anymore. So,
Absolutely. You know, the changes are the things that go silent and hidden. It's so interesting that we create that way, that the changes go silent and the sameness goes on. It's like when you go back to visit your family of origin, you know, you're now 48 years old, and you go back to visit your family in origin, and they see you exactly the way they saw you when you were 5, right, or 10 or something, and they treat you as if you're the same person. And then you are in this struggle whether you're going to fight them in some way to try to prove to them that you're not 10 or something like that, or you're just going to become the way they see you and then say, I can stand it for maybe 3 days and then I'll get out of this or something. Or what if you don't make all that relevant and you just ask inside yourself, what is true for me now? What would I choose this relationship for now? Who can I be now? Who can I be with them now? Who do they want to be with me now? I said that to my mother and father, actually, when I was in my 40s. I said to my mother and father, who would you like to be with me now? I'm really not your son anymore. I mean, I am in name, that word and so forth, but I really don't need parenting, and I really don't need, the kinds of things he gave me when I was little. I don't really need that stuff. Who would you like to be with me now?
And what did she respond?
Well, my mother didn't even get the question. She didn't know what I was asking. And my father said, I don't know, maybe we could be friends.
Oh,
And, it just opened up a whole new space,
totally.
right? And like
I
when,
had it with like, yeah, you go.
but it doesn't have to take 40 years. Sometimes it can take 4 days. Like who you were with your partner 4 days ago is not who you are with your partner now. You've been moving inside yourself, whether you've been talking to them or not, inside. And what would you choose now? What relationship would you choose? What are you doing relationship for? That was your question. Now, today,
Yeah.
who can you be with them, and who can they be with you today?
I love to explore this topic with you, Charlie. And I've heard that you have a class coming up soon. Would you like to talk about this a bit?
Yeah, I would love, love, love to talk about this because Access has so many different classes in so many areas. And the area that I find the juiciest is the area of relationship. And we have a whole um, section called Relationships Done Different. Um, and there's a book out there saying, what's the title of the book? Simone's book.
Relationship, are you sure you want one?
Relationship, are you sure you want one? Yes. Anyway, um, this section called Relationships Done Different, and we have classes that we offer on relationships done different. And what we're really looking at is done different mean what's true for you and how you can create relationships, regardless of whether you're not in one or in one right now, that works way better for you. And I'm offering this 3-day class on January 17th through the 19th, 17th, 18th, 19th. All day long class, starts at 10:30 in the US eastern part of the country. And if you look it up on my website, drcharlieverge.com, DrCharlieverge, just like my word on the screen here without the .com. And you go down to classes, you'll see this class and check it out. It's an immersion experience and looking at the questions we've been talking about today and giving you tools to allow you to create the relationships in your life that can work for you. Love to have anybody who is listening to this or watching this to come play and explore with us.
Yeah, I love that. And also, like, what I perceive is the more willing you're honest to be honest with yourself, the more change is available. It's like
Absolutely.
it's always us that can move in a different direction. It's never really the other person that makes you move. It's like, yeah, you only can decide to move for yourself where you want to go. It's like, yeah, and there is a power in it. And I wonder who's willing to have and be that.
And one of the things we're going to explore in this 3-day class is how this is a gift to others. Like we often think that growth and change and awareness and giving ourselves freedom and so forth is selfish. That's just a point of view you adopted in this world. It actually is the opposite, is that when you grow and change within a context of a relationship, it can be such a gift to others. If you're not doing it from resistance and reaction, but you're doing it from the generosity of spirit to yourself and them, it becomes such a beautiful gift to others.
Yeah. And what if you're worth it to have and be that with and for you and someone else. Like, I have a sense like there's so much more nurturance available beyond all the judgments, and there are new spaces opening up, and I wonder who would like to explore that. Like, I'm so grateful for this, and for you, Charlie.
Grateful to you, Simone. Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone for listening and for watching, and yeah, maybe see you in class. We will post the link in the comments, and if you have any questions, please reach out. And yeah, what can we create? Thank you.
Thank you.